Hello, my name is Jacob Persico, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to install Linux. Now, this particular tutorial I'm installing Linux Mint. However, if you want to install a different Linux distribution instead, go right ahead and do that. There's links in the description for other Linux operating systems that you could use as an alternative to Linux Mint. As you know, as you may already know, Windows 10 is end of support, end of life, October 14th of this year. That means, according to Microsoft, who makes Windows 10, they're saying that they're not going to update it anymore. So if you're on Windows 10, you might want to upgrade to Windows 11, and if your computer doesn't give you the option of that because it officially doesn't support Windows 11, you could force Windows 11 on it. There's a way to do that with the program Rufus will let you, you can make a installation media with that, put it in your computer, and run the installer from the Rufus created Windows 11 upgrader, from the Rufus created media that you created with the Windows 11 ISO that you got from Microsoft. So yeah, you can do that, and then you can go into the File Explorer on, I have a tutorial on that on my website, jacobpersico.wordpress.com. You can go into the folder Explorer, run that installer that you made with Rufus, and upgrade to Windows 11, force the upgrade, even though you're officially not, your computer doesn't officially support Windows 11. So that's one option. Another option is going to Linux Mint now, or another Linux distribution. Now you can use the same tutorial for a different distribution, like you could use it for Ubuntu or Debian or whatever. And there's links in the description with other Linux operating systems that you could use instead. And there's a link to a website where you can try different Linux distributions without having to install them to see what ones you like and don't like. Now, there is the option to, add a second operating system to your hard drive. Now, do note that if there's no room in the drive and you have to shrink your Windows partition, there's a slight risk of data loss. Whenever you shrink a partition, you could accidentally mess up the drive. Not break the drive, but it won't actually break. You're not going to actually break the drive, but you can lose your files, your personal files. So you definitely, if you're going to add a second operating system, like if you're going to add a Linux distribution like Linux Mint as an additional operating system in addition to Windows, you definitely want to back up your files first. So you can do that. You can have your Windows 10 on one partition, you can have your Linux Mint on another partition, and then when you boot up, it'll ask you which operating system you want to use. So that's a good idea, because it's not really a good idea to get rid of your Windows operating system, because you may still need it, and there may be programs that only run on Windows that you're not able to run on Linux. Now, because this is I don't want to make this tutorial too complicated, in this particular tutorial, I'm actually not doing a dual boot. I'm just going to erase the computer and put Linux Mint on it. But again, I don't advise you to do that. I would advise, you could back up your files, back up your personal files, and then install Linux Mint as a second operating system. You can try Linux Mint in a virtual machine. You could try Linux Mint in the, or any other Linux distro on the website that I linked in the description, Distro C. You can try out many different Linux distros. Now, when Linux Mint and other regular Linux distros like Ubuntu and Debian, and I linked them in the description. they're actually great alternative to Windows, and they're much more user friendly than Windows too. They don't have all the ads and telemetry and stuff. There are some programs that you can't really run in Linux that they're available in Windows, but they don't really run good on Linux. So that's something to keep in mind. They are two totally different operating systems. The Linux operating systems and the Windows operating system, they're totally different. So, but pretty much, anything you can do on Windows, you can do on the Linux distributions. Again, some of the programs like Adobe, aren't really compatible. And of course, it's a little bit different than Windows. It's not exactly the same thing. There are totally different operating systems, but they're definitely good to try, and you can try it on the website. I tried them on the website. I linked, the Distro C website. You could try them on a virtual machine like VirtualBox. But this time in this tutorial, we're just gonna install it onto a computer. This particular computer that we're installing it on doesn't have an operating system already on it. So I mean, like, this is a good thing to try on like an old computer if you have an old computer with no operating system. Or you want to get like an old computer from like eBay. Make sure you thoroughly check the descriptions and the ratings. Or from a friend, like you got an old computer lying around. This is a great thing to do. Install Linux on it, and so without further ado, today I'm going to do a quick tutorial on installing Linux Mint. So you go to this website, linuxmint.com, download. We're going to do latest recommended. We're going to do the cinnamon version. There's other versions, but we're going to do the cinnamon version. Download. Okay, so now we got the torrent file right here. You want to go into, you want to download transmission from transmissionbt.com. Downloading it for Windows 64-bit, because this is Windows 64-bit. So download and installing Transmission, which is a torrent program. If you already have a torrent program, you can use that instead. Open it. You can see I'm using, come to transmission, accept. What is it? GNU. It's a GNU program. It's just let's see. Yeah. Requires 36 megabytes. Install. Let's do it. Yes, install transmission. This is very similar. The steps are very similar on Linux. To install transmission on Linux, you would go into your the program that you use to download programs, whatever it is in your version of Linux. Download manager or whatever it is in your version of Linux, and search for transmission, and then download and install it in there instead of using the web browser. Okay, so now we have transmission installed. Now we're going to use, let's run transmission. Transmission. Let's run this. Transmission is a file sharing program. When you run a torrent, its data will be made available to others by means of upload. Any content you share is your sole responsibility. I agree. Okay. Start local session, I guess. And let's allow public and private through my firewall. All right, so, all right, let's just click on the torrent download. I'm going to do the 64-bit of Linux Mint Cinnamon. Here's the torrent. Let's open it. And as you notice, I'm using Edge. That's because that's the program that comes with Windows. But I don't normally use Edge. I usually use Brave. So it doesn't matter what browser you use, whether it's Edge, Brave, Firefox, Chrome, whatever browser. How do you want to open this file? I'm going to switch to transmission. And I'm going to say always. Because I already had uTorrent installed, so. But I'm switching to transmission. Okay. Priority. I'm going to set this high because I'm in a hurry to get this done. So I'm going to give it a high priority because I want it to do it fast. All right. Okay, so now we just got to wait for this to download. Here's another site. www.boot-disk.com/quest_bootmenu.htm. This is where you're going to find, I'm going to leave all these links in the description. This is where you're going to find the boot code. You're going to either have to hold down this button, this key combination. You're going to either have to hold down the key combination, and then while you're holding down that combination, tap the power button to start up the computer. Or tap the power button to start up the computer and then continuously tap that key combination. It depends. So for like, if it has a shift, I don't think these have any have a shift. Yeah. So if there was like a shift key involved, you would hold down the shift key and then tap the other button multiple times. Or if you have like a function key that you have to press, you'd have to hold down the function key and then tap the F key multiple times. It depends on how it's set up. Some computers you might have to hold down the function key and tap the F key multiple times, the F5, F8, or whatever it is. Some computers you might have to not hold down the function key while you tap the F5, F7, or whatever key it is. But, like I said, some computers you're going to have to hold down that key combination while you tap power. And some you're going to have to tap power and then tap the key combination over and over again. All right, let's see how this install is doing. Let's look at transmission. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick tutorial here. I'm not going to spend a long time doing it, and I'm only going to show you on Windows because it's pretty much the same on Linux, the way you do it. Another thing you want is Ventoy. Is it Ventoy.net? Yeah, it's Ventoy.net. Yeah, Ventoy.net. So Ventoy.net. What you're going to do here is you're going to click download the Ventoy. This is another one you want to download because this is how you're going to repair the disk. Excuse me, I mean USB drive. Yeah, here it is. I found doesn't need to be that big. It can just be 8 gigabytes or more. Ventoy. Let's do the zip file. And we're using Windows, so we're going to fix the Windows download. And in Linux, you could probably go into the program downloader and search for Ventoy, whatever program you use to download programs. In Linux Mint, it's different with different versions of Linux. With Linux. Different versions of Linux have different programs to use to download programs. You don't typically use the web pages to download programs with Linux, but we're using Windows, so we're doing it this way. Alright, Ventoy, downloading Ventoy. See how it's taking a long time. Let me plug it in. Should be able to get faster speed over a wired connection. Okay, did that speed things up? I don't know. It looks like it did. Wait. Let's see, I'm going to click folder to show in folder. And I'm going to right drag this and do extract to folder. It's a little bit different in Linux. In Linux, you have to double click it and then you have to create a folder for it and then extract it. But now I gotta find it. Okay, 312. That's today. Okay. Yeah, see, just it's not, you don't install this program. Good idea is to have a folder called programs. So in your users Jacob or whatever your name is folder, you can have a program folder called programs and put through all your programs that don't get installed in there. So users Jacob or whatever your name is, programs, and then in that programs folder is all the programs that don't have installers. My programs folder is directly in the C drive though, because that's just the way I did it. Ventoy. Okay, so I got older Ventoys in there. Take the Ventoy in there. Let's cut Ventoy. And let's paste the Ventoy in my programs folder. But you don't really have to do that if you don't want to. But the main thing is you want is Ventoy to disk. Oh, I didn't put the flash drive in first. Alright, I'm going to put the flash drive in. Run Ventoy to disk. Alright, run Ventoy to disk. Come on. Ventoy to disk. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, so now you want to go in here. Okay, so we got the 16 gigabyte one. We just want to click, well, make sure it's a flash drive that doesn't have any important files in it first, because it's just going to completely erase the drive, and then click install. I already have Ventoy in this, so I don't have to do this, but you would click install to install Ventoy into this. There's also different options like partition style. You probably want to keep it the old-fashioned MBR. Is there an option to partition configuration? Oh yeah. So if you go options partition configuration, you can put it to the regular FAT32, the older system, or you could do the exFAT if you want to. But I don't. The exFAT might have less support, so you might want to do the FAT32 instead. But FAT32 doesn't support any files over 4 gigabytes. So I've already installed Ventoy on this disk, so you don't have to worry about that. Alright, so, oh wow, our install is already, we've already got the ISO. Alright, so here's what we do. Now that we have Ventoy installed on the disk and we have the ISO, I'm going to right click here, the ISO, open folder. Now it put it in the downloads folder. You want to validate the ISO to make sure it's good. Linux Mint recommends validating the checksum. And then using the checksum to validate the ISO, but we're not going to validate the checksum. We don't really need to validate the checksum. The checksum comes from kernel.org, so checksum doesn't really need to be validated. So we're just going to use the checksum to validate the ISO. I'm going to go to hover over download and click installation guide. Click verify your ISO image. So this is instructions for Linux. It says to run SHA-256 sum space -B space and then your ISO. Okay. And then it says here how to do it on Windows. Okay, so you have to use PowerShell, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so here's the commands here. I'm going to put it in the description. Alright, so first we want to run this. Copy this. We want PowerShell. And I right click to paste it. And hit a space. Drag this ISO file into here. And then right click copy. right click, and then left click copy. And then right click in here. Okay, so now it says cert, CERTUTIL with a capital C and capital U, space dash, hashfile space, and then the ISO file, we paste it in here, and then SHA-256. And we wait, we press enter, and wait. All right, so now we're gonna do this pretty quick. All right, so while we're waiting for this, let's go back to Linux Mint. Let's look at the SHA-256 sum. That's the top one right there, is the one we want because we're doing Linux Mint Cinnamon. Okay, so now we got to do this command right here. If Apple equals, now in Linux you have to have the spaces. If you're doing this in Linux, you need if space bracket space. So it's if space left bracket space, and then Apple and quote, and then a space, and then an equal, and then a space, and then Apple and quote, and then a space, and then bracket. You have to have the spaces, but we're doing it in Windows. So this is the command we're going to use. If Apple equals Apple. All right. Replace the first Apple with this. Right click to copy it. Right click to paste. And then arrow over to the second Apple. And then we're going to left drag to copy. Right click, copy. Okay. Okay, so that has to be done on the command prompt. All right, so that's wrong. Let's try this again. It's the command prompt. So I left drag, right click, and then left click copy, and then right click here to paste it. The first Apple, so now we're in the command prompt. And then right click to copy, and then right click to paste, and then left drag to select, right click, and then click copy, and then right click paste. Okay, that's equal. Okay, so it's the same. It's kind of confusing because the if command, if blank equals blank, echo equals, this has to be run in the command prompt, and the CertUtil command has to be run in PowerShell. So you have to make sure to run it in the right environment. So yeah, it's kind of tricky. You gotta, so it's, all right. Anyway, I showed you anyway. I just want to make this quick tutorial. So now the next thing we're gonna do is, now that we know that it's verified, I'm gonna copy it from my downloads folder. I'm just gonna, that's somebody else. Okay. Put my Ventoy drive in. So, okay. So the Ventoy gives you 2 drives. Make sure you don't do it in the one that's got the EFI file. You don't want to put it in the one that's got the EFI file. You want to put it in the other Ventoy. See, one says vtoy EFI and the other says Ventoy. You want to put it in the one that says Ventoy. In my case, it's E. So I'm going to paste it in here. You can see I already have an older Linux Mint ISO. Now let's look at this other computer. Dell. I actually have to do this into 2 different computers. So the one that I'm putting it is a Dell Latitude E6400. So let's see. Let's go to hotkeys. Let's see, Dell Latitude. Precision, Dell, Latitude. Dimension, Inspiron, and Latitude. F12 and F2. So F12 is to get to the boot menu, and F2 is to get to the BIOS. I want to get to the boot menu, so I'm going to use F12. Now, sometimes you have to go into the BIOS, use the BIOS key to get into the BIOS, and disable secure boot. You're probably not going to have to do that, but there are some situations where you do. Some Linux operating systems do require you to disable secure boot. I don't think this one does, so we're just going to go F12 to boot it up, and I'm going to switch to that screen. Okay, so you could see that the Linux Mint 22.1, which is the newest version, is in there. Date March 12, 2025, which is today. Alright, so now make sure you safely remove this. So you're going to left click here and then right click your drive and go eject. Or I think there's an eject option here too. Right click here and go to eject. Yeah. Oh, it can't eject it. No. Oh, wait a minute. Save to remove. Yep. Make sure you do that before you take it out to make sure that the file's been transferred properly. And now we're going to go over to the other computer and we can see that F12. So we're going to either have to hold that F12 down while we tap the power on button, or tap the power on button and then press F12 over and over again, which is the F12 key, not F and 1, 2. Okay. Alright, now that I got the USB stick with the Linux Mint on it, and my camera's messed up. Alright, now that I got the stick with the USB on it, I'm going to plug it in, and looking at that website I mentioned, I want to plug it into the fastest port. So this one says SS on it. I'm gonna plug it. I'm trying to plug it in on the fastest port. So like if it says SS on it, or if it's blue, you know, that would be a good hint that it's a faster port. So I got that plugged in, and I'm gonna switch over to the screen sharing in a minute. But for now, we have to do it like this. Now, normally you'd have to hit the, I think what you normally have to do is, for the HP laptops, hold down escape while tapping power. And let's see, it's already got the press escape And then F9 for boot device options. If I don't do this, it will automatically boot into the USB because it doesn't have an operating system. But if it did have an operating system, we'd need to do this. F9, if you see, it says F9 for boot device options is what it shows on the screen. And then I'm going to use the down arrow to select the USB. I selected USB hard drive. Enter. And then Ventoy starts up. I don't know what happened with the graphics here, but okay, so we got some sort of bug here. I think it might be because I have the HDMI plugged in. Let me try unplugging that. All right, let's try this again. Okay, it's USB hard drive UEFI USB. Is I think what I need to do. Okay, now it's working right. So now I want to make sure I get the right ISO, the newer one, the 22.1, not the 22. Enter that. And then boot in normal mode, enter again. All right. And now I'm going to do the first option, start Linux Mint, 22.1 Cinnamon. Okay. All right. So I don't have the HDMI plugged in yet because see it's a laptop, so it's gonna interpret that as a second screen, not the main screen. But I do want to show it to you on the screen sharing rather than you having to look at a camera. So now if you press escape while Linux boots up, it'll show you the progress. It'll tell you what's going on in the background. You don't have to do that, but if you want to. It just remember, if you use this trick to press escape to see what's going on, wait till the graphical login comes up. If it's a graphical Linux. If it's not a graphical Linux, obviously, you're going to be waiting forever. But I mean, this is a graphical Linux, so I'm going to wait for the graphical login to come up. Oh, it does. Yes, yeah, so some of these Linux, some of the Linux operating systems with the graphics, they will actually show a text-based login for like a fraction of a second before they show the graphical login. So just be aware of that. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch to I'm gonna go into display settings. I'm going into display settings. Plug in my capture card. So I'm going to switch it to mirror. Okay, so now my video capture card should, I'm going to apply the changes. And now I'm going to switch to my video, keep. Okay, so now I can see that my video capture card is picking it up. So now I'm going to switch over to that. Okay, now as you can see, I'm over on my video capture, and I should be able to see this drive on here on this computer. Oh, I know why it's not showing the drive. All right, so let's see. Disk. Okay, because I don't think the drive in this computer is actually formatted yet. If we can look, we can see we have a okay, okay, here it is, right here. It identifies it as an SD card reader, for some strange reason. But you see, it's a 32 gigabyte drive. eMMC, I think is what it's called. I think it's like soldered to the motherboard. And I think this computer has 4 gigs of RAM. It's a HP Stream. Let's see, let's go into settings. About. System information. Okay. All right, here we go. 3.7, yeah, so it's a 4 gigabyte. HP Stream. What's its full name here? I don't know. I have the full name somewhere of this laptop. But it's an HP Stream. It's not the most powerful. Let's just get it in Linux installed on it. All right. Alright, so it's going to take a minute for the installer to load. So, yeah, what do we see? What's the processor on this? System info. Single core running it. Single core, I think it's a single core. Oh no, I guess it's a dual core running at 1.6 gigahertz. Anyway, let's just install it. Let's get this installation underway. United States, US. Yep. Do we have shoot. I'm gonna have to connect it to my internet. Okay, so if I put a okay, so it's not going to show you. Good. Because I don't it's not like a big deal, but I don't really want you to see my password. Okay, I think that's it. Alright, so I don't have to block that out. Alright, so yeah, it found my printer already. Yeah, it's amazing how easily computers can discover your network printer nowadays. It's like it just automatically adds it. It's like it's just so, it's like you don't even have to add your printer anymore. It just automatically, you just have to select it. Oh yeah, we want to install multimedia codecs. We definitely want to check that off, because are required to place some video formats and to properly render some websites. Yeah, okay, so we want to do that. And we don't need this disk app up anymore. You can see that the whole drive is blank. Erase disk and install. Let's see. Yep, that's going to do that. The 31.1.3 gigabytes, it's actually 32 gigabytes, but it depends if you're using the binary, rounding it off to the binary value, or rounding or using the SI value. You know, sometimes 1024 bytes is in a kilobyte, sometimes 1000 bytes are in a kilobyte. So that's why you get different numbers. It just depends on what program you're using. Okay, ESP, okay, yep, continue, let's do this. Alright, yeah, so Windows generally does 1024 kilobytes per byte, megabytes per kilobyte, and gigabytes per megabyte. Linux, I guess, usually does 1024. Drive manufacturers usually do 1000. So that's why you get a little bit of different number. New York, yep, that's my time. That's our time zone. All right. I'm Brian. I'm just using a weak password because he can change it if he wants. Let's see, continue. So I just did this the other day with a different laptop. You know, the full Linux install. You know, after the sign in, after the forms, the computer had to sit by itself, left alone, for about 21 minutes and something seconds. The computer, right after about 21 minutes and something seconds, it was at the end of finishing the install. But through those 21 minutes and some odd seconds, I didn't actually have to interact with the computer. It was just downloading and installing everything. So that's probably about how long we're going to have to wait. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to start up the recording when it's done, or like right before it's done. So you don't have to sit through this for 21 minutes, because I'm not gonna be staring at the screen I'm not going to be staring at the screen while it does the install. So you just put the computer aside. Just make sure the stays open so it doesn't go to sleep, and just leave it alone and wait about 20 minutes for it to do the install. And then once it's done, it'll prompt you to remove the media and restart. Okay, it's been over 30 minutes. I'm not sure when it finished, but like I said, the other computer, this took 21 minutes and something seconds that I left it alone. After the initial typing everything in, you know, username, password, and all that, there was about a 21 and a half minute wait, and before it got to this point with the other computer. This one I don't know because but it was probably about the same, probably about 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so it says installation has finished. You can continue testing Linux Mint now, but until you restart your computer, any changes you make or documents you save will not be preserved. So I'm going to click restart now. Thermal. Did that say some thermal issue? There shouldn't be a thermal issue. Okay, so it should tell me to remove the media. Please remove the installation media and press enter. So I'm going to take out the USB flash drive and press enter like it says. And now we should have, it should automatically start up. So it says press escape for startup. That's because I changed the BIOS so it has a delay of a second. I did that a while ago, before this video. And let's see if it boots up and works. I might have to put in my Wi-Fi password again for it to get back on the internet. As you can see, this particular laptop doesn't have a lot of storage on it. Oh, I meant to look up the model of this. I know the BIOS says it. Oh, I found it. Here it is. This is an HP Stream laptop 14-AX0XX. All right. I just put in the password. I don't know if it showed that. It should have. Okay, so it's not doing the mirroring right now, I guess. No, let's see, it's not doing the mirroring. But it showed the login screen and I typed in the password. Okay, let's go back to mirror. Let's see. Okay, so now it's mirrored again, so you can see it. Okay, so you get a little welcome screen. Let's see how much storage space it used up. Let's see, it's 17.4. So let's see, about 32 minus 17.4. So it used about 14 about 4. This is 32 minus 17.4 is 14.6. So used about 14.6 gigabytes, somewhere around there. So as you can see, unfortunately, the video feed went out. But I did end up actually doing an update on this, which is, what you want to do after you install Linux. Now, the thing about updating on Linux distributions, on a regular Linux distribution like Linux Mint or Ubuntu or Debian or whatever, is that unlike with Windows, you're not locked out of your computer. So while it's doing the updates, you can actually use your computer while it's doing the updates. And then, if a restart is required, you can do that restart anytime you want. And the restart will just take the regular amount of time as like a regular restart. So the update system updating never locks you out. Unlike with Windows, where you're staring at a screen telling you to wait for the updates to finish, and during that time that the updates are installing on Windows, you can't do anything. You're completely locked out of your computer. That doesn't exist on Linux, on regular Linux distributions. All right. It just finished. So now, if I don't know if you could see it, because I know the video went black for part of the video, but right here had a little notification symbol on it, like it wanted your attention. That's what you click on Linux Mint to do the update. So yeah, it doesn't make you do updates. Linux Mint doesn't make you do updates. Generally Linux doesn't make you do updates. It just, if you should do them, it's good to do them. But all right, so we want to see how much that added in our very small, well, now we have 15.9 gigabytes of free space. All right, so yeah. If I use the df-h command, it calls it MMC BLK0P2. You could tell it's because it's the one with the G. Yeah, and you could say it's using it's rounding it off with the binary value. The 1024 equals 1. 29 gigs. So you can see that 16 gigabytes would be barely enough to store this operating system. A 16 gigabyte drive would be barely enough to store the Linux Mint operating system with the Cinnamon desktop. This is a 32 gigabyte, or in rounded off to binary, it's 29 gigabytes, and it uses about half of it. And we only have 12 gigabytes of free space. Wow. Oh no, wait a minute, 15 gigabytes available. So it's 45% used. Yeah, so we still have 15 gigabytes to add other stuff. Now, typically with Linux, I know with Windows, you usually go into your web browser to download stuff. Sometimes you do it that way with Linux. Sometimes you use the web browser to install programs. Most of the time you don't, though. So, like in Windows, you typically want to go Zoom, because he likes Zoom. He uses Zoom. And this is typically the way you do it on Windows. And they'll probably even give you the option to do it this way, but you know, I mean, you can still do it this way on Linux too. I mean, if you want to. And there are some programs that I do it this way. But most programs I don't do it this way. But most programs I don't do it this way. I don't even see I don't even know where the download link is. It doesn't matter. We're not going to do it this way anyway. What we're going to use is we're going to use the program. And I don't know why these don't have labels on them. So this is why I like the cinnamon, the CinnVIIStark menu instead. But they're going to be changing. Linux Mint's going to be changing this menu soon. But I like to have the. But anyway, you just use the software program. So I know it doesn't have a label here; it just has a symbol. But if you were to go, so in Linux Mint calls theirs software manager, I believe. So if you didn't know that this was the icon for it, it says over here, it says on the lower right, it says software manager. If you didn't know that was the symbol for it, you could actually type it in, software. Or let's say you want to find the program to install software. Just type in software, and you see it's software manager. So typically you want to use the program that the Linux operating system came with to install software. And then you want to type in here the program you want. But yeah, different Linux operating systems call this program different things. Not all I don't think all Linux operating systems call it software manager. But basically all the Linux operating systems have a program specifically for installing programs. So you don't have to use the web browser to do it. This is being kind of slow, huh? This shouldn't actually take that long. The generating the cache, it should be pretty quick, but oh look, it looks like it found a Bluetooth driver. Bluetooth enabled. I didn't know this had Bluetooth. Maybe I did and I forgot. Because I did look at the specs of this laptop. But I might have forgot that it had Bluetooth. All right, so now it's up. So I'm going to do a search for Zoom. I'm going to type Zoom, enter. You know, this is not the fastest computer on the planet. That's interesting. Weird. Is it not in here? Alright, well, I guess you have to get it from the website. Okay, so I finally found it. It's zoom.us/download. Zoom.us/download. I'm surprised it's not in the repository. Maybe they just prefer you to go to their website. Maybe they figure it's a way to make more money. I don't know. But oh, they actually have a specific. They actually have Mint as one of the options, which is interesting because if they didn't have Mint as an option, I would just put Ubuntu, because Mint's based on Ubuntu. And if they didn't have Ubuntu as an option, I'd put Debian because okay, so Mint's based on Ubuntu and Ubuntu's based on Debian. So I mean, typically you can use the same program for all three of them. Yes, it's 64 bits the only option. Yeah, this is 64-bit. Mint 64-bit. Okay, Mint 18 plus. Okay, all right. So we gotta get a deb file here. Yeah, so this is usually not the way you do it. Folder. All right. I don't know if I have to make it executable. Sometimes you have to right-click it and go Properties, and then go Permissions, and then Allow Execute. Let's see. So if I double-click this, will it give me an error? Interesting. It still works even though it doesn't have the execute. Attribute. Sometimes you have to do that, though. Requires changes in 8 other packages. Let's see what those changes are. Probably just wants to add stuff. The following packages need to be installed. No big deal. It just has some dependencies. So I'm going to click install. Put in the password. Authenticate. And it's easy as that. Usually you would just find it in the software manager. And just click the install right over there, and it would install it. But sometimes you have to do this. Yeah, just continue it. Software. Okay, continue. Installing file. All right. So it's just double click the .deb file here. It's a Debian-based distribution, so it uses .deb files. So it's the root distribution is Debian. If the root distribution was Red Hat, it would be a .rpm. But you know, you get the idea. You just run the file and just do the install. It's not really that hard. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. You know, and all the regular Linux distributions all work pretty much the same. Regular Linux distributions meaning the ones that you can install Linux programs into and have a terminal with Linux/Unix commands. you know, the oddballs like Android and Chrome OS. Of course, they're very different. They're not like, you know, right? You know, they're kind of Android and AOSP operating systems and Chrome OS. You know, they're kind of oddballs. I mean, they're still kind of sort of Linux distributions. Some people, you might say they are. But they're not, they don't have the regular Linux feel to them, you know. Because of lacking the terminal with the Unix/Linux commands and not being able to install regular Linux programs like normal. You know, Android and Chrome OS are they're kind of Linux distributions, but they're kind of not. Usually when somebody talks about Linux, they're talking about they're talking about something like Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, Arch, you know, the ones that behave like Unix. So yeah, that's all I want to show you. So oh yeah, we wanted to see how much. Let's just see how much space we used up. Oh, we also added Zoom. I wanted to actually check this before I installed Zoom, but all right. So how are we on space? 14. Oh wow, we're right at 50%. Yep, we're right at 50%. So we just used half the drive. So yeah, you want at least 32 gigabytes if you're going to be installing Linux Mint with the Cinnamon desktop environment. I mean, there are smaller Linux distributions too, but you know, yeah. So if you like this video, actually, you know what? Actually, what I want to do, I like to do this because I think it makes it easier. Linux Mint is going to make a newer one of these, the menu, a newer menu. I mean, this one's pretty good because it categorizes things. So you got the accessory, you got all the programs here. You can just see the accessory programs. You can just see the graphics programs. You can just see the internet programs, Office, sound, administrative, preferences. You know, so I like the way it categorizes the different programs, which Windows doesn't do. And a lot of operating systems don't do by category like that. I don't like the way it doesn't have the names of these shortcuts. Like, it doesn't tell you what these shortcuts go to. Well, it does. It does actually when you put your pointer over them. Like, it says Firefox web browser, software manager, but you have to put your mouse over it for it to say it. But I guess the newer version of this is gonna be more verbose. So it's gonna have more. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I like this CinnVIIStarkMenu. I think it's more user friendly. Go back to manage. Add, you know, it's nice how customizable. I mean, you don't have to do this. This is just an extra. This is just an extra thing. But I just like this. I think this is more. This start menu is more user friendly. Because see this, it actually says the words right next to it. So that's why I like it, because it's got the words right next to it. You know, it's just right there, software manager. You know, you don't have to put your pointer on top of it to see that it's the software manager. You know, and it's a little different, but it's kind of like Windows 7. I also like to have the you can customize this. A lot of customization you can do. I wanted to add description. Yeah, show application description under the title. So I might already show the description. Does it show the application description? Yeah, it shows the application description, but you have to hover over it for it to say it. Under the title. Oh. It's not. Come on. There we go. All right, let's see here. Oh, but okay, it still shows the application description when you hover over it, but it shows it under the title too, which you could customize it whatever way he wants, but like that. Anyway, you know, I could show you a bunch of customizations, but you know, you get the idea. You can customize it. I mean, yeah, you can customize Windows too. I mean, my Windows has the classic shell start menu, which a lot of people use the newer open shell instead. So yeah. Alright, so %, used, and little hidden gem. Linux Mint actually comes with NeoFetch out of the box, so it's interesting. Alright, if you like this video, please give it a like. Be sure to subscribe. If you want to be notified on my videos, you can make sure the bell notification is turned on. I come out with new videos sporadically. I don't have a set schedule of when I come out with new videos. But, yeah. That's it. Quit. So it actually says the word quit here. Yeah. Shut down. Alright. And that's it. Thank you very much. My name is Jacob Persico. And take care.